Okay, obviously I am not Pastor Mabio. I need to be a whole lot shorter and a little less hair. And I'd not be runner-up for the fashion show. He was runner-up. I tried to convince Miss Tanya today. I said, you can preach in Portuguese. And she said, no one will understand me. I said, well, just say amen. So Pastor called last night, and he says, ooh, I have COVID. And Dad's like, ooh, okay. They talked about it. I said, I'll do it. And then he's like, you're going to preach? I said, no, I'm not going to preach. I'm going to tell a story. So a couple of people are like, oh, you're preaching? And I'm like, no, I'm telling a story. So you are all my Sabbath school kids or the church school kids, and I am telling you a story. So I won't be afraid to use my Miss Leslie voice and say, Mrs. Towner, do you need to go see Mrs. Towner? Sit still, let me read the story. All right, here we go. We're just going to get started. Obviously, you know it's going to be something about plants. Okay, most girls, as I said, most, that's key word there, grow up wanting to be a princess. Most. That is, I think for most of my friends, that was not true at all. That was not true of me. But you think of being a princess, and you dress up in your costumes or whatever, being a princess, and then you dream of meeting that Prince Charming, but you never really think, Shirley's making a face, you never really think that Prince Charming is going to be a real prince, right? You don't think that I'm going to go marry the Prince of Wales. I mean, they're both taken already, but, or the Scottish prince, or wherever there's a prince. You don't plan on truly meeting a real live prince and marrying them and, ruling the kingdom. But we meet the Prince Charming of our lives, and the rest is, as you all know, because most of you are married. I'm not, so you know the rest. All right, Hadassah was probably no different than any other girl her age at that time, or us now. She probably had her life planned out. Okay, I'm this age, I'll probably get married at this age, marry a nice little Jewish boy. Well, man, not a boy, that'd be weird. And we'll be good. Life will be normal, have kids, have our house, clean, cook, make flatbread, whatever. Not marrying me, I know that much. I can clean and do laundry. Ish. All right. Anyways, so she probably never thought, though, that she would actually end up marrying a king and being a queen, like in real life. That really happened to her. She married a king. Her fairy tale, if you want to say, became true. So, you know the story, but for time's sake, my mom probably wouldn't like it to be 5 minutes. My dad would, but I'm going to recap the story in my somewhat version, okay? Here we go. So, Hadassah is orphaned. She has no parents, sad life, horrible. She lives in a different town. Her cousin Mordecai comes and rescues her, takes her back to his house. So, poor kid. She not only loses her parents, she has to move in with his family. And she goes there. She lives with Mordecai. Her life probably got somewhat back to normal. They changed her name to Esther, means shining star. When you say things and you're up here, you got to make sure they're right. So then I question myself. So it means shining star. And, life was normal. Ish for Esther, back to normal, even killed, all great, until one day the great king decides that his queen is not listening, and he can't have that. That is just a bad example, apparently, to the kingdom, to not have your queen listen. So out goes the queen, and of course the king has to have a queen, and all the other lovely ladies he already had in his palace will not do. He needs a new one, and she better be beautiful. So the beauty contest is held, the greatest fashion show of life. See, I'm going to use it against you until you came. So the greatest fashion show of life is there, the beauty contest. In fact, certain age, you were called, the whole kingdom. You were that age, bummer for you if you had plans. You're going to the kingdom now, and you are stuck there. You go through your beauty treatments. I probably would have died. They'd probably been like, ooh, we can just kick her to servanthood right now. Anyways, so she goes through her beauty treatment, and she finally gets to go in before the king, and she goes in and does whatever they have to do, and bam, God had a plan, of course, but, Esther didn't know that, and she becomes queen. She doesn't get to become the queen, though, and be like ruler of the land. She doesn't be like, yep, see you later, bye. No, she kind of still has to listen to the king. So she becomes queen, but before she became queen, I forgot the part to say that Mordecai tells her, okay, listen, you have to go to the palace. There's no option around this. But you are to keep it a secret, top secret mission, FBI, CIA. Do not tell anyone that we are related, and you cannot tell them that you are Jewish. Let's not do that, okay? So Esther's like, all right, fine, whatever. You're older, you know better. So she keeps that a secret. She becomes queen, still a secret. You know, life then I guess gets back to normal again for Esther being a queen, but something happens. There's a plot against her great love's life, the king, and someone kind of has to warn him. Not very good if your king gets executed and you knew about it. Probably not going to play out in court very well. So Esther, through Mordecai, tells her the story, and Esther gets the information to the king, and the king is saved. The two bad guys go away. Done. Well, Mordecai doesn't get rewarded, but years go by, and, you know, life's normal. And then Haman, the lovely Haman, decides that he is really the best next thing on earth. Like, he is God's gift to the world. So he is the king's right-hand man, his best friend, his best bud, advises him on the great matters of state. And he cannot stand Mordecai. It just makes him mad. Like, just probably saying his name, he probably got mad and read and had a fit. But who knows? The Bible doesn't say that. Go read chapter Esther, okay? Read Esther when you get home. Anyways, so that happens, and, you know, Mordecai won't bow down to Haman, and Haman can't have it. So Haman, in his great intelligence, decides, let's not take out one man. Let's take out all his people. We're just going to get rid of all the Jewish people. No more Jews because, you know, they are just so horrible and awful, and the one won't bow down to me. I can't take that. So he goes into the king. And remember, they're good friends. The king probably thinks, yeah, he knows what he's doing. He's out there in the world. I'm in my palace. He knows what's going on. And he says, oh, king, he may have flattered him. He may have been like, you're having a great hair day. That, you know, that robe really brings out the brown in your eyes. They're going hazel color today. Who knows what happened? Anyways, what happened is that Haman asked for a law to be made. That on a certain day of the month, that all these people, all the Jews, should be gone away with, dead, no more. Blotted out. And the king thinks, oh, yeah, sure, why not? Sounds great, Haman, you know what you're doing. I'll give you my signet ring. You make it law. This is great. Does he know that his poor queen there is going to end up without one if it goes through? So Haman does his thingy, but the king's troubled one night, can't sleep, and he hears the story of how Mordecai helped save his life. And he's like, ooh, did I do anything to thank that great servant of mine? And they're like, no, but, you know, whatever. He's like, okay, let's think of something. Well, Haman comes in. Actually, no. Read the story. The law happens at the same time that Haman has to go out and, you know, lead Mordecai through the street saying, oh, look at this grand man the king greatly wishes to honor. Not very good for Haman. Anyways, Esther hears about the new law. It all happens. Read your Bibles more, okay? And your storybooks. It's scary once you're up here. You don't know the order. Anyways, Esther hears about the law, and Mordecai says, hey, you know what? Maybe you should do something about that. And she's like, whoa here. The one rule that everyone knows in the kingdom is I can't go before the king. That ain't happening. Unless he calls me, I can't go. Otherwise, I am no more. Like, do you not realize this? And he's like, yeah, I know that. But maybe you were brought here for that reason. Esther, in her wisdom, she got to know God, obviously, through that time. She knew about him. It's like, okay, fine. I will go before the king, and if I die, I die. But we're going to fast and pray for 3 days beforehand. That 3 days passes is probably a terrifying time. And then she goes before the king. King holds out the golden scepter, thankfully, and she asks him to the dinner. I mean, they say a way to a man's heart is through his stomach. I don't know if that's true, but she must have believed it. So she asked him to come to dinner. And the king's, of course, like, oh, yeah, sure, but I'll give you up to half my kingdom. What's really troubling you, my queen? She's like, oh, just come to dinner with Haman. Okay, they go. They go, and then that night, the king goes, and he's like, all right, Esther, you're a little smarter than that to risk your life just to ask me to dinner. So what's going on? He's like, oh, come one more time to dinner, and then I will tell you. So it happens again, and of course, Haman gets mad at Mordecai again, and all grouchy and upset, and he builds a gallows to, hang him. Done with Mordecai, but that didn't happen yet. And then they go to the Last Supper. And the king is like, all right, Esther, you are not a silly girl. Something must really be troubling you to put your life on the line. What's going on? And then that's when Esther gets to gracefully point the finger and say, hey, yeah, your friend over there, he is wanting to kill my people. I'm asking you to save my people. And he's like, what are you talking about? She's like, yeah, you made this law. Save my people. So you know the rest of the story. It all ends up happily ever after, not for Haman and his family, but for Esther and Mordecai and everyone else. The Jews get to save themselves. Okay. Here we go. So Esther's life definitely go quite as she probably planned it when she was a little girl, or those in her life. It did not go to plan. She is faced with life-challenging decisions. Esther didn't ask for this, nor was she prepared for the challenge that she had to face. She had no idea what the outcome would be. She had no idea if she went before the king, if the king was going to execute her or not. She had no idea when she asked the king for help, if the king would really listen to her or be like, how dare you keep this secret from me? But she was willing to let God use her where she was, and because of that and her courage, a life and death situation was solved, and history was forever changed. All right. So, I wrote this last night. I got a lot of arrows, so let me find out where my arrow is supposed to go now. How can we, like Esther, be people of courage in easy and hard times? Because, like we talk about in Sabbath school, don't we, Natalie? Sometimes life is hard, but we still have to be faithful. Jesus is still with us, right? Easy and the hard days. Hard situations of life has thrown at us. We all have been thrown a curveball in our life, some as big as becoming a queen or having to save a nation of people. Others maybe not so big. In fact, I was thrown a curveball. I totally thought by now that I would be in my program. I'd be killing it as a dental hygienist. My role model, Annie, would be there to help me. Yeah, but no, that ain't the case. I'm stuck waiting for who knows how many years. Shouldn't probably not homeschooled those 5 years. Took me forever to get through high school. Other decisions, big, little, probably, those are curveballs that I've been thrown. But there's still a plan. All right. Now that I did that, Mom said I had to put that in, by the way. All right. But God still wants to use us. God still used Esther with those curveballs that was put in her life. Okay, I was just going to tell you the story, but Mom's like, Leslie, what's the point you want them to learn? So here we go. We're going to look at a few texts that can help us to be God's people of courage even when the curveballs in life are thrown at us, okay? You're going to know them. They're going to be simple explanations, but we're going to do it anyways. Here we go. All right, let's turn to Jeremiah 29:11. All right, Esther had a plan, but God has a plan for us. God knows the plans he has for us. Mom is going to read, because I don't want to. So, 29:11.
Yellow? Is that on?
Yep.
Yellow? Okay. Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, says the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope.
All right. So, God, he can help us in the curveballs we throw into our own lives, right? It says he has a plan for us. Now, that doesn't mean that it's all going to be perfect and wonderful and not painful. Esther had to go through pain to prosper. She had to go through the pain of being orphaned. She had to go through the pain of moving, the pain of becoming the pain of asking the question on her life, whether or not you will save us. So Esther had pain in her life, but God still helped her to prosper in the end. Not yet. No. All right. They forget I just had a birthday and turned 25, and I can make some decisions on my own. All right. God never leaves us. It may feel like he leaves us. It probably felt like Esther for a little bit, that ooh, boy, you really sure, God, you're asking me to do this? Are you sure? This is really painful. This is my life on the line. She could have stayed quiet and been like, no one will know. It's our greatest secret. No one will know. Everyone else may die, but, no one will know. But no, she decided to go ahead. We're going to go to Hebrews 13, 5 and 6. But remember, the bottom part of 5.
So Hebrews 13, verses 5 and 6. starting halfway through verse 5. For he himself has said, I will never leave you nor forsake you. So we may boldly say, the Lord is my helper. I will not fear. What can man do to me?
All right. We can, like Esther, know that he doesn't leave us. He doesn't leave us in the hard times or when there's difficult, tough decisions to make. He's still with us. Some people will leave us in those hard times and those tough decisions to make. But God never leaves us because he has a plan for us. All right. In fact, he asks us to come to him with our hard decisions in our troubled times when we need guidance, and he says, be still and know that I am your God. He wants to help us. So, of course, we're going to go to Psalms 46. We're going to read verse 1, and then we're going to go all the way down to 10 and 11.
Psalms, verse 1. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. And then 10 and 11. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge.
All right. Esther not only went and sat in silence to remember who her God was and how great he is, but what he could do for her, but submitted her life to him. And we sometimes need to submit our lives to him. Sometimes we forget that this plan isn't really ours. Even though we may have thrown so many curveballs into it, it's still not our plan. And sometimes we need to ask the counsel of others who, like I said in Children's Story, we believe are truly following God's plan. So, Esther went to submit herself to God. We're going to go to Proverbs 3, verse 5 through 6. Then you get to read the little blue box.
Proverbs 3, verses 5 and 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths.
Amen. All right. Then there was a little quote from Ellen White in it's blue in my Bible, in Esther. So we're going to read that. I think it's from, do you read verse 6?
I did.
Yeah.
In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths.
Okay, so we're going to go there. I think PK means patriarchs and prophets and kings. Okay, so Mom's going to flip there. The blue box.
On page 577. I was thinking it was on the same page. So
No, you got to go back to Esther.
Right, you got to go back to page.
It's Prophets and Kings, page 601. I have no idea where it's at in there because it was just a little blue box in my Bible, and it sounded great. It fit.
So the source of Esther's strength, and this is by Mrs. White. The crises that Esther faced demanded quick, earnest action. But both she and Mordecai realized that unless God should work mightily in their behalf, their own efforts would be unavailing. So Esther took time for communion with God, the source of her strength.
Okay, so we see that God has a plan for us. We see that we need to be still and know that God is our God. Despite the plans we may have chose for ourselves, God is still there. We see that God never leaves us nor forsakes us, and that we need to submit ourselves to him. Every day, we need to submit ourselves to that plan. All right. So Esther, above all these things, she did those steps. She knew that part. But above all, it still took courage to go to the king. It still took courage once she threw her dinner parties to finally ask the king for her request. That took courage. Courage is sometimes hard to gather up. All right. But we can, hold on. See, this is what happens when you have too many arrows. Okay. Courage. And we can see that God is with us. We can have the courage that Esther had because guess what? It's at our fingertips too. It's available to us, and it's not even cost us anything. So we're going to go to Joshua 1:9, which I'm sure many of you know. If not, that's okay. I don't memorize very well either.
Joshua 1, verse 9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and of good courage. Do not be afraid, nor be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go.
All right. Esther knew what was right. She knew that God put her on this path, and she chose to be committed to him in whatever he asked her, despite the outcome. So we're going to go to 1 Corinthians, right? 16, verse 13. Don't worry. I'm almost done.
1 Corinthians 16, verse 13. Watch, stand fast in the faith, be brave, be strong.
All right, Esther did all those things. She was strong in her faith, and she decided the best thing to do was to tell the king. Finally ask him. But after she submitted herself to God, realizing that God had a plan. So we can see that God can use us no matter where we are or how many curveballs we or someone else have thrown into our lives. But we, unlike Esther, know the ending of our plans. Esther had no idea what was going to happen. She had no idea if she was going to die or not. We know the ending of our plans. We may not know the middle, in between, all mixed, crazy part right now, but we know that if we submit ourselves to God, we know the end of our plan in life. We know that, go ahead, Mom, we're fine in John 14, 1 through 3.
John 14, 1 through 3. Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, there you may be also.
So we know that no matter what the plan of life is right now, we know that when we accept Jesus into our hearts, when we submit ourselves daily to him, our plan has a great outcome. We get to become kings and, well, princes and princes. You get the point. We get to wear crowns. So we get that because we have chosen. Jesus has the end of the plan for us. He has the whole plan, but we get to see the end, unlike Esther. So let's be like Esther. Say, okay, Lord, if you are asking me to do this, if this is the plan you have for me right now in my life, if this is where I'm at and this plan is what it's about, then if I perish, I perish. If this is what happens, that's what happens. So let's stand up for Jesus, because we may never know whose life we may influence. Esther influenced the lives of those around her. She influenced her servants, her maidservants. They fasted and prayed with her. They saw that she believed in a true God, a God who had power. We don't know whose lives we may influence. I don't know. I'm at TJ Maxx. I have no idea who I may influence. Not where I want to be, but that's the plan I have for right now that God's given me. All right. We may never know who we influence or whose history we could have changed. So let's stand up for Jesus no matter what. Let's have the courage to follow his plan and be accepting of what he has given us. That's all I got for you. So choristers, you get to sing a song. Guess what, guys? Your food might not even be warm because Mom's in charge of potluck.